CPTSD and attachment disorders, though, that is my wheelhouse. We can talk about CPTSD and attachment disorders. Let's do that. CPTSD, so everyone knows post-traumatic stress disorder. You get traumatized, something bad happens, and then you get like flashbacks, nightmares, emotional dysregulation, anger, memory loss, concentration difficulties, fear of things associated with the trauma. You get the gist. CPTSD, it's happened a lot. You couldn't escape. You were tied up in a dungeon, for example, for years. Good example of PTSD. Not a great life, but a good example of CPTSD. So CPTSD typically does lead to not so healthy attachment patterns in people, and the reason is pretty obvious. If you're developing CPTSD, it's typically because you were suffering chronic abuse as a child, normally because adults have more autonomy and they can escape traumatic situations, whereas children are normally the ones who are suffering chronic trauma because they don't have autonomy, they can't escape. So therefore, children are the ones most likely to go through things that result in like CPTSD and the like. Can happen to adults, again, but just more commonly to happen in childhood. The reason this leads to difficulties with attachment is because who are children around the most? Children are around the most parents, yeah? And so if children are suffering chronic repeated trauma and the people they're around the most are their parents, who do you think is inflicting the trauma? It's probably the parents, yeah? So households with a ton of like abuse, neglect, sexual violence, and things like that coming from the parents, well, hey, these are the primary attachment figures in a child's life. And if they're the ones chronically inflicting complex trauma upon the child, of course the child isn't going to learn how to form like healthy attachment bonds. And then like, when are they ever going to learn that? So then they go into adulthood with like typically very, very avoidant attachment styles, because why would you want to get close to people if they're just going to hurt you?